Listen carefully. If you reveal your intelligence too soon, you lose power before you've even begun. Power isn't about always being right. It's about remaining invisible until the moment is right. In a world obsessed with looking clever, the one who plays dumb wields the sharpest weapon. To an average person, this might sound like sabotage. You spend years sharpening your mind, learning, observing, and then what? You pretend not to know anything. But the Machiavellian sees it differently. He understands that intelligence is only valuable when applied at the perfect time. Revealing it too early is like showing your poker hand before the bet is placed. You don't earn respect. Instead, you paint a target on your back. People begin to compete with you. They feel threatened. They undermine you quietly. They plan their countermoves. They whisper behind your back. Why? Because you exposed your greatest weapon too early. Your mind. So what does a strategist do? He hides it. He lets others assume he is soft, mild, inexperienced, harmless. And then, when the stakes are high, he flips the entire room with a single sentence. This isn't stupidity, it's performance art. Most people crave validation. They hate being underestimated. They feel offended when others think they're slow. So they rush to prove themselves. I already knew that, they say. Let me correct you. Here is the real answer. But Machiavelli would say, congratulations. Habit 1. Practice strategic silence. Once you prove yourself instantly, you become predictable. You've unveiled your entire arsenal. Now your enemies know exactly who you are. They understand what you value, which means they know how to manipulate you. Even worse, the person you attempted to impress doesn't respect you. They simply file you away as another ego-driven intellectual. Instead of dominating the room, you've just volunteered to become part of its furniture. The Machiavellian reverses this dynamic. He allows the world to assume he's naive, assume he's average, assume he's distracted. And while they assume he studies, he calculates. He gets closer to their weak points. There is a particular strength only the strategic possess, and it's not born from ignorance but from restraint. Sun Tzu once said, appear weak when you are strong. Machiavelli embodied this idea in a far more ruthless form. He didn't simply appear weak. He let others believe they held power over him. And the moment they got comfortable, he dismantled them from within. This tactic succeeds because of ego inflation. When people believe they are the smartest in the room, they loosen their grip. They start bragging. They reveal secrets. They expose flaws. And guess who's silently watching all of this? The so-called fool. This strategy is powerful because it invites honesty from your enemies. It deflates tension among rivals. It lowers their guard. It makes your final move appear miraculous. Even though you engineered it all along, you become the last person anyone expects, making you the most effective. You've seen this play out before in negotiations, relationships, and politics. The person who stays quiet, who asks seemingly simple questions, who lets others speak first and listens more than talks, then, when the moment arrives, says one sentence that ends the entire discussion. That's not luck. It's someone who's mastered the art of selective display. They keep their knowledge concealed until revealing it means winning the entire war in one precise move. This approach is seen in the executive who sits quietly at meetings, then clinches the deal with a single counter-offer. The quiet friend who gathers everyone's secrets, simply by never interrupting the investor, who waits in seeming uncertainty until the price drops, then buys everything in one swoop. These individuals aren't fools. They just wear the mask of simplicity better than anyone, because they understand a vital truth few recognize. People underestimate what they do not fear. If you want to be formidable, start by not appearing formidable at all. Fools are always taken lightly, and Machiavellians exploit this as if it were a rule written in stone. Let them misjudge you. Let them take center stage, talk too much, and bask in their own sense of superiority. Let them drop their guard as they invite you in, convinced they hold the upper hand. When the silence grows heavy, that's your cue. Make your move, not with drama, not with emotion, but with quiet precision. It could be a statement, a refusal, a pivot that shifts the entire dynamic, or a question that reveals their weaknesses. In one instant, everyone in the room recognizes you weren't behind. You were baiting them all along. That's the distinction between raw intelligence and true strategic intelligence. This isn't about acting dim. It's about acting as if you have less leverage than you do, until your opponents give you the opening you need. Then and only then do you reveal you were never in the dark. You simply waited for everyone else to convince themselves you were. Habit 2. Delay. Revealing opinions. If the world ran on reason, intelligence would be the most powerful weapon. But in reality, what's rewarded isn't intelligence. It's control. And control isn't gained by dazzling others with brilliance. It's earned by concealing it until it's too late for anyone to counter your move. Most people sabotage themselves before the game even starts. They're too loud, too eager to seem smart, too emotionally invested in validation. Machiavelli would caution, a man who shows his cards too early only teaches his enemies how to beat him. The real contest isn't about being seen. It's about remaining unseen until you have real leverage. Machiavelli valued a specific kind of intelligence, not the one that scores on tests, but the kind that studies a room as if it were a battlefield. He knew that people don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't read. And what makes someone unreadable? They don't react. They don't scramble to speak. They don't flinch when insulted. Don't rush to correct others. Don't get trapped in pointless arguments. Instead, they let the other person keep talking, digging their own hole. This is calculated foolishness. Letting others believe they're leading the conversation, all the while quietly holding the real power, allowing others to see themselves as the smartest in the room, while you're already 10 moves ahead. Quietly collecting advantages is not about permanent invisibility. It's timing. You wait until silence becomes intolerable, and then you shatter it with exactness. In today's world obsessed with being right, where endless talking is mistaken for victory, silence is often read as weakness. This is precisely why strategic stupidity prevails. Amid fragile egos and relentless noise, the man who speaks sparingly becomes an enigma, a black hole that draws curiosity. He may be judged, misread, even mocked. But beneath it all, he controls perception itself. Here's the secret. People project their dreams and anxieties onto what they can't decipher. When you become unreadable, you turn into a mirror reflecting their own character back to them. This is how the Machiavellian masterfully gathers intelligence, letting others reveal themselves through their assumptions. While everyone else is fixated on the surface game, he's watching body language and subtle cues, preparing to upend their entire strategy. Picture yourself entering a room full of posturing, arguing men, all vying for dominance. You remain quiet, speaking only if addressed, offering no opinions, just listening. Immediately one man overshares, desperate to impress. Another assumes you're timid and lets his guard down. Yet another sees you as easy prey and tweaks his tactics to manipulate you. Each reveals his hand, oblivious to the fact you're memorizing every move. Then, when the moment is right, you make a single decisive move using the very information they gave away. That's not accident. That's Machiavellian deception at its most refined. Let the fool rush into the snare. Let the clever man set the mood thinking he's in control. This method is devastating in negotiation. If you come off as too sharp, people get defensive, conceal weaknesses, plan countermoves. But ask a naive question, and they start explaining too much, revealing soft spots and urgency. The more they think you don't understand, the more power you quietly accumulate. Once they decide you're no threat, you emerge with an offer perfectly tailored from everything they unwittingly confessed. Picture two men entering a room. One strides in proud, polished, sharp-eyed, clearly projecting intelligence. He speaks confidently, trying to command attention, eager to assert his dominance from the start. The other moves quietly, almost indifferently, appearing slow to react or slightly awkward. He says little, observing everything with a calm patience that many mistake for weakness or disinterest. The first man quickly becomes a target. His visible confidence invites challenge, rivalry, and scrutiny. People circle him, testing his limits, trying to unseat him. His intelligence, worn openly like armor, draws both admiration and resistance. He fights battles on all sides, ultimately spreading himself thin. The second man, however, remains a mystery, unreadable and elusive. Because he reveals nothing, others can't gauge his true power or intent. Their need to decode him draws them in, sparking curiosity, even obsession. Without realizing it, they hand him their vulnerabilities, their hopes, fears, and strategies, through their own attempts to understand him. This subtle act of disinterest is the true alpha's advantage. Rather than competing loudly for status, the silent observer waits, studies, and collects every piece of information. He doesn't join the noise. He ends it by shifting the dynamic in a single quiet move no one anticipates. His supposed mask of ignorance is no passivity. It's a deliberate tool wielded with precision. In romance, seduction, or any social hierarchy, those who rush to prove themselves often lose the game. But those who embody measured restraint, who feign ignorance while fully aware, command far greater power. Their influence runs deeper, precisely because it is concealed. Remember, showing intelligence openly makes you visible, and visible is vulnerable. Hidden intelligence is like a shadow, felt but impossible to pinpoint. You become the unseen force controlling the room, the quiet storm before the strike. That's dominance in perfect camouflage. That's the Machiavellian way. Habit 3. Observe without reacting. Everyone immediately sizes up the first man. Some admire him, but most prepare to guard themselves against him. In contrast, the second man enters looking plain, calm, maybe even a little awkward. He doesn't interrupt, brag, or display power in any obvious way. What happens next? People relax around him. They let their guard down. They speak freely, revealing insecurities, secrets, and ambitions they would normally hide. They drop their defenses without realizing it. But the second man is actually far sharper than the first. He deliberately uses the mask of low threat as a gateway to true leverage. Machiavelli would call this entering through the servant's door and leaving as king. Because the hard truth is, you can't control a room until you first vanish into it. This tactic isn't just about being quiet. It's about consciously shaping your presence through the subtle downplaying of your opinions. Don't present your beliefs like unchallengeable commands. Instead, ask thoughtful questions that invite others to reveal their own positions. Let them talk. Let them feel like they're educating you. Then, with a gentle shift or a quiet insight, you turn their own words against them. That's authentic power. You don't argue. You let them dig their own pitfall. Selective confusion plays a key role here. Feigning lack of understanding is one of the sharpest tactics available. It draws out longer explanations, exposing how well or poorly the other person grasps their own argument. You act naive so they feel in control. Most importantly, you let them teach you what they know, making them feel superior. But behind the scenes, you're quietly collecting psychological fingerprints, their rhythm, their arrogance, their blind spot. They believe they have won your respect, but all they've really done is hand you the tools to dismantle them later. Let others lead, and you steer. While smart people often feel compelled to lead every conversation, the master strategist understands that the best way to lead is by seeming to follow. Let others speak first, set the course, and believe they are guiding the situation, while you quietly command the game. With just a subtle nudge here, a gentle suggestion there, and a carefully timed hesitation that makes them rethink their plan, you steer the outcome without anyone noticing. This isn't mere manipulation. It's invisible rule. This is Machiavellian cunning at its core. Let them insult you. Let them laugh. Let them underestimate you. Resist the urge to defend, explain, or react. Why? Because every insult, joke, and smug remark they toss your way is a confession. It reveals what they fear, what they value, where their pride lies, and where their armor is weakest. While they laugh, you quietly sharpen your blade, patient, observant, until the moment you reveal you were never the fool. You were the listener who knew everything all along. There's a saying, he who appears harmless bypasses the god. In social hierarchies, the ambitious, the loud, and the clever are immediately marked, watched, countered, and often boxed out. But the fool, he walks in unnoticed. No one sees him as a threat. No one feels the need to block his path. And that is exactly why he wins. He bypasses resistance effortlessly. By default, he earns trust and becomes a confidant, a safe presence. He quietly gathers knowledge until he's the only one who truly knows everything, while everyone else remains vulnerable. By the time they recognize the danger, it's too late. The hierarchy they tried to defend has already shifted, silently, irreversibly in his favor. This tactic also influences how others emotionally relate to you. When you are too polished, too perfect, or overly impressive, people instinctively distance themselves. You aren't relatable. You don't feel safe. You become too obvious. But when you wear soft edges, appearing unsure, relaxed, even aloof, you invite others to lean in. They drop their own masks of perfection. They reveal their true selves. They believe you are someone they can manage, fix, or outwit. And that's precisely when you flip the script. Not with aggression but with sharp precision. You become the person they chose to open up to, never realizing they were stepping into your frame from the very start. Machiavelli's warning about flattery or destruction highlights the delicate balance. Be underestimated, just enough to lull others into false confidence, but never so long that the illusion clouds your own clarity. Private discipline is essential. Continually refining your mind, observations, and delivery ensures that when the moment comes to reveal your true strength, you emerge focused, precise, and unstoppable. The most potent power is often invisible. It's the man who observes silently, calculating outcomes while others talk themselves into trap. True genius doesn't seek applause or recognition because it understands that predictability breeds vulnerability. Showing too much too soon invites rivals to strike. This strategic invisibility isn't humility. It's a deliberate buildup of power beneath the surface, encouraging enemies to act recklessly and expose themselves. It's about creating a perception of weakness, so effective that others lower their defenses, unknowingly handing you the tools to dismantle them. Habit 4. Ask simple questions. History offers countless examples where this tactic was lethal in practice. Julius Caesar's seeming populism fooled his adversaries, until his bold crossing of the Rubicon changed the course of Rome forever. Vladimir Lenin, dismissed and underestimated by the Tsarist regime, orchestrated a revolutionary overthrow that reshaped Russia. In essence, wielding the mask of foolishness requires constant self-mastery and strategic patience. When others embrace your constructed image and drop their guard, that's your moment. Not a loud confrontation, but a single decisive move that rewrites the rules and secures your power before anyone can respond. It's the art of winning without being seen winning. By adopting the guise of someone beneath the game, like Liu Bang or other historical figures you mentioned, a strategist turns invisibility into their greatest asset. This beneath-the-surface stance frees you from direct competition and rivalry, because others don't see you as a threat. Instead, you quietly collect data on how people behave when they believe they have the upper hand. This observation phase is critical. Watching how others treat someone they perceive as weaker reveals their true nature, their tendencies toward manipulation, flattery, cruelty, or cowardice. Such behavioral cues cannot be gleaned from straightforward questioning, because people generally guard their true selves around perceived equals or threats. But let those guards down around the underestimated. Your advice to delay opinions, keep reactions neutral, and refrain from correcting others is spot on. By maintaining a calm, unreadable demeanor, you deny others ammunition and force them to expose themselves through their own words and actions. Simple, obvious-sounding questions invite over-explanation, revealing vulnerabilities, motives, and inconsistencies that sharper statements might not elicit. Habit 5. Separate your mask from your identity. Ultimately, this discipline of patience, observation, and subtle inquiry lets you script interactions in your favor. You are not just surviving the social and political game. You are reshaping it invisibly, controlling the board from within it. Watch closely as people explain too much or slip in secrets they never intended to share. Simple questions often unlock complex truths. Let others assume you're slower or less aware than you really are. Don't rush to respond. Pause just a little longer than necessary. Give the impression of hesitation or uncertainty. They will either grow overconfident or reveal their hand while trying to guide you. You're not lost. You're baiting them forward. Most fear being misunderstood, but the true strategist welcomes it. The more mistaken they are about you, the greater your advantage. A man seen as dangerous invites resistance. A man seen as foolish gains access to information, emotions, blind spots, and unearned trust that's ripe for exploitation. The goal isn't to be liked, admired, or even feared. It's to remain invisible, forgotten until it's far too late. If you're truly intelligent, ask yourself, are you wasting your brilliance proving it to those who don't matter? Or are you concealing your genius long enough to employ it where it truly shifts the game? Machiavelli's lesson is unmistakable. Fools get laughed at, geniuses get attacked. But the man who hides both becomes king. So, stay quiet. Let them speak. Let them laugh. Let them lower their defense. And then, with one silent and decisive move, end the game, before anyone even realizes it began.